commitment to this whole area.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, we're drawing insights from this really compelling YouTube interview Gerardo did. It was on the Pi Sobre La Tierra podcast.
Okay.
And our goal is to, extract the core knowledge, the history of e-waste recycling, its benefits, which are significant, the hurdles we face, and where things might be headed.
The future, yeah.
We'll focus particularly on the situation in Nuevo León, Mexico. It gives us this valuable local lens on what's really a global challenge.
Hmm. That regional focus provides important context, definitely. It shows the practical realities, like, on the ground.
Exactly. Now, we promise this won't be some dry technical lecture.
No PowerPoints here.
Ha, right. Think of it more as an engaging exploration. This topic, it touches every single one of us.
Mm.
We're going to uncover some, frankly, surprising facts and really look at the practical side of managing our old electronics.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's unpack this. How did Gerardo, starting out with his background, even find his way into this field? It wasn't exactly a straight line, was it?
Not at all. And what's fascinating is how his, well, seemingly unrelated experiences all kind of came together.
Right. He started as a public accountant,
Yeah.
but early on, he was really good at English and, importantly, computing.
Ah, the tech side was there early?
Yeah, that inherent technical curiosity was always present. And his career path, it took him through some pretty diverse sectors: banking, then mining.
Mining, wow.
Yeah, in Cananea and Nacosari. He even had an experience involving a nuclear reactor there,
Seriously, okay, that's quite a range.
isn't it? And after that, he moved into the insurance industry.
So banking, mining, insurance, that breadth of experience probably gave him a really valuable understanding of different industries, their operations, the complexities.
No doubt. But the real turning point, the thing that actually steered him towards e-waste, was quite personal, actually. He gave a job opportunity to an insurance agent's son. This young man had a background in technical support, and that connection led Gerardo into computer sales.
Okay, I see the link now.
And here's where it gets really interesting. About 25 years ago, so we're talking mid to late 90s,
Yeah.
he started offering discounts to customers who traded in their old computers.
Wow. So even before people were really talking about it, he was basically doing circular economy stuff.
Precisely. His
Uh.
core philosophy, it's so direct. He says, technological waste does not exist. I find a way out for any material.
I like that. A strong belief.
He genuinely believes in finding value where most people just see junk. But, and this is important, he's also very realistic about the costs. The costs involved in responsibly processing the hazardous materials in e-waste.
That's a critical point, yeah. Because while there's value in lots of the components, you've got dangerous stuff in there too. Safely handling that, well, it costs money, it has real financial implications.
And he really emphasizes the dangers of doing it wrong, chucking electronics in landfills, or worse, burning them. That leads to serious contamination. Soil, water, air.
It's a stark reminder of what's at stake. A huge environmental problem if it's not managed.
So from those early computer trade-ins, he spotted both a need and maybe a solution. But back then, e-waste recycling, which
And-
wasn't common practice.
Oh, absolutely not. And it's kind of surprising, isn't it? That even now, all these years later, awareness and understanding are still pretty limited, even among people working in tech fields.
It truly is. He even told a story about supporting Optima's clothing stores. They needed computer equipment, but not the latest, fastest stuff.
Right.
So he was able to supply them with older, perfectly functional machines, keeping them in service. It really highlights how stuff we might think is obsolete actually still has plenty of use.
Which directly challenges that whole issue of planned obsolescence, doesn't it? The way things are designed to break or become outdated so quickly now.
Which is, let's be honest, a massive contributor to the e-waste mountain, this built-in limited lifespan. And it ties right into the right to repair movement.
Yeah, which faces huge obstacles. Warranty restrictions, manufacturers making it almost impossible for you to fix your own stuff.
Those restrictions, they're a huge barrier to just extending the life of our electronics and ultimately reducing how much waste we generate in the first place.
Definitely.
But it's not just about consumer gadgets. Gerardo pointed out something interesting. There's still significant demand for older analog equipment in industrial settings.
Analog, really?
Yeah, for things like CNC machines, computer numerical control, and other machine tools. Apparently, their precision can sometimes be even better than newer digital systems for certain tasks.
Huh. That's a fascinating contrast, the old tech still holding its own.
Isn't it? Now let's really dig into the specifics, what actually happens when we recycle different types of electronics. Let's start with those old CRT televisions, the big bulky ones. Many of us probably still have one lurking in a basement or attic somewhere.
Yes, the CRTs. They're interesting because, while flat screens dominate now, those old functional ones, they can still be used with older cable TV systems, for instance.
Exactly. And responsible recyclers, they don't just smash them up.
Hmm.
Gerardo explained they meticulously separate the different kinds of plastics.
Oh, right. Because the casing might be different from the front bezel or the knobs?
Precisely. Different plastic polymers. And that careful separation is absolutely essential for actually recycling the materials effectively, recovering usable stuff.
Makes sense.
Then you've got the insides, the electronic boards, often called low grade compared to, say, a modern smartphone board.
Right, less gold or precious metals.
Yeah, lower concentration.
Yeah.
But they still contain a mix of valuable metals, copper, aluminum, iron, even tiny traces of silver, plus lead, often in capacitors and things.
So still a diverse mix of materials, and the challenge is getting them out safely and economically.
And for these big TVs, it's not always some super high-tech automated line.
Right.
Gerardo mentioned manual dismantling is quite feasible. One person, using basic hand tools, can take apart maybe up to 50 units a day.
Wow, by hand.
Yeah, the recovered copper, aluminum, iron that gets sold as raw materials. The value of the circuit boards themselves, well, that depends on what's actually on them, the quality. But the big challenge with CRTs, it's the glass.
Ah, yes, the leaded glass. That's hazardous waste, isn't it? Finding ways to recycle that or dispose of it safely, that's been a tough nut to crack for a long time. Lead is nasty stuff, a neurotoxin. You don't want that leaching into the environment.
Right. Gerardo shared a story about a past project. There was a ceramic tile company in Pescaria that would actually buy the crushed CRT glass.
Oh, interesting. For use in tiles.
Yeah, but at a very low price. And the absolute key factor was that the glass had to be completely clean. All the metal bits, like the stainless steel from the electron gun inside the tube, had to be meticulously removed.
Ah, contamination is the enemy. That clean separation is vital to make it work.
Exactly. Okay, now let's switch to something we all carry around constantly, cell phones.
Cell phones. Yeah, Gerardo called them the urban mining opportunity of our time, and he's not wrong.
Absolutely. You can sell whole phones just by weight, apparently. Prices vary depending on the market, but the real treasure is inside, those tiny, jam-packed electronic boards.
Indeed. He mentioned the logic boards from certain iPhones and Samsung models. They can fetch incredibly high prices, like up to 1,800 Mexican pesos per kilo.
Whoa, really? Per kilo?
Yeah, it's because of the high quality components, the mix of materials used. They contain precious metals, gold, palladium, things like that.
That's a serious amount. It suddenly makes sense why there's this whole informal economy around collecting old phones.
And even the RAM chips inside have some value, though not as much as the main logic board, of course.
Right. Okay, let's move up in size again. What about the big household stuff?
Mhm.
White goods fridges, washing machines, dryers.
It's important people know that these big appliances are now definitely included under electronic waste regulations. That's both nationally in Mexico and internationally, too.
Yes, they get classified as special handling waste,
Mm.
which basically means you need specific permits to manage their disposal and recycling.
Right. And currently in Mexico, those permits usually come from the state government, but there's talk about maybe shifting that responsibility down to the municipalities.
Which raises some questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, like will municipalities have the consistent standards, the expertise needed at the local level to handle this properly?
Exactly. Gerard had highlighted that challenge with municipal politics,
Mm.
short 3-year terms. Priorities change, staff change.
Yeah.
It makes establishing and keeping effective long-term recycling programs really difficult.
Yeah, consistency is tough under that system.
So taking all this in,
Yeah.
what's the actual situation with e-waste recycling in Nuevo León right
Yeah.
now? Are things, working well? Are they where they should be?
Well, based on Gerardo's insights, it sounds like there's still pretty big gaps, a lot of unrealized potential.
He mentioned those occasional collection drives, run by universities or maybe municipality.
Yeah.
Good intentions, sure, but they don't really have a widespread or lasting impact. They're just too infrequent, too limited in their reach.
Sort of a drop in the bucket.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There was even an attempt, he said, to put residential e-waste containers in San Pedro, a dedicated bin program.
Oh, how did that go?
Sadly, it failed. People threw regular household trash in them, contaminated the whole thing, and there were issues with scavenging too.
That's tough. It really shows you need more than just bins. You need public education, maybe different collection methods, more control.
For sure. And overall, the picture he painted is that Nuevo León still lacks consistent, widely available e-waste recycling options for residents. Even the trade-in programs from Big companies like Apple,
Yeah.
they mainly push you towards buying a new device, right?
Yeah.
It's not purely about recycling the old one for its own sake.
Right. They function more as an upgrade incentive within their own ecosystem, facilitating sales.
However, it's not all negative. There have been some cool past successes. Gerardo remembered Cinemark, the cinema chain.
Uh-huh.
They used to accept used Lexmark ink cartridges in exchange for movie tickets,
Oh, that's clever. A smart way to get people recycling.
isn't it? And Lexmark itself even had a toner recycling plant down in Ciudad Juarez. They recovered the plastics, obviously, but they also used the actual toner powder as an additive in asphalt.
No way. What for?
Apparently, it has fire retardant properties. How about that for a closed-loop system?
That's fantastic. It just shows with some innovation and investment, this stuff we call waste can have really valuable second lives.
Totally. But on a more concerning note, Gerardo talked about the decline of the Comité de Reciclaje, the recycling committee.
Okay, what was that?
It sounded really important. A collaborative group founded by a biologist, Raul Martinez Mata. It brought together municipalities, the state government, recycling companies, schools, industry, everyone involved. It just marked its 25th anniversary last year.
Wow, that kind of cross-sector collaboration sounds absolutely essential for building a strong recycling system, getting everyone on the same page.
Exactly. But unfortunately, the committee lost its state funding and basically just fizzled out after the pandemic hit.
Oh, that's a real shame. A loss.
Yeah. And environmental fairs, which used to be important for raising public awareness, they've become less common too. The last big one was apparently back in 2013, though there was a later event called Ecodulia. It kind of paints a picture of lost momentum, in this really crucial area.
Yeah. Backsliding almost.
Now, shifting gears slightly, Gerardo also talked about how the quality and design of electronics themselves have changed. And maybe not always for the better, especially thinking about durability and recyclability.
Yeah, he raised some valid concerns there, like how fragile modern devices often are. Think about how easily phone screens crack now.
Tell me about it. And even more worrying, he discussed this potential trend towards using lower grade components inside,
Like what?
like using aluminum or even iron instead of copper for wiring or in transformer cores.
Ooh, okay, that shift in materials.
And
Yeah, that could definitely increase the risk of short circuits. And it probably affects how long the product lasts and maybe even its safety.
right. Plus, lower quality components can apparently generate more electromagnetic interference, more noise.
Hmm.
So he really stressed the importance for us as consumers to use good quality surge protectors and voltage regulators. Try and shield our devices from some of these risks.
That's good advice.
He even mentioned that CFE, Mexico's Federal Electricity Commission, offers some kind of protection plans. Might be worth looking into for some people.
It's a timely reminder, definitely. Protecting our gear from power issues seems more important now, given these trends and how things are made.
So, looking ahead then, what does the future landscape of e-waste and recycling look like? And how does our, well, seemingly endless appetite for new stuff, our consumerism, fit into all this?
Well, the impact of our consumption habits, it's undeniable, isn't it? Depleting resources, driving climate change. It's all linked.
And despite all the work done over the years, Gerardo sounded pretty concerned about the lack of real significant environmental policy changes in Nuevo León.
Still hitting roadblocks.
Seems like it. He mentioned a meeting he'd had with people from the British Council and an expert on landfill efficiency. And the takeaway was progress often just boils down to budgets, politics, and ultimately the will to actually make changes happen.
Yeah, those systemic obstacles, they can really slow things down in environmental initiatives, unfortunately. Budgets and politics often get in the way.
He even sort of hinted at, well, maybe vested interest, things that might be actively hindering better recycling programs at the city level. He pointed to the really low recycling rates you actually see at the landfills as evidence.
That paints a frustrating picture, doesn't it? Progress being slow, even when the need is so clear and urgent.
Yeah. The urgency to shift towards a real circular economy, where we reuse and recycle resources constantly instead of just using them once and tossing them, just can't be overstated.
Absolutely. We need that fundamental shift.
And on a really basic level, Gerardo pointed out how low the rates of household waste separation still are, and the lack of good environmental education in schools. These are big hurdles.
Foundational issues.
Plus, even if people do separate their waste at home, the fact that the collection trucks often just mix it all back together again. Well, that's incredibly discouraging, isn't it?
Oh, totally. It undermines the whole effort. If there's no proper infrastructure and support at the collection stage, individual actions don't achieve much.
You also raised an interesting point about universities. Maybe they could take more of a lead in waste management. You mentioned a study from Baja California that surprisingly found higher waste generation in lower income areas. The theory was maybe less donation happening compared to higher income areas, leading to more actual trash.
Huh. That's interesting. It highlights how complex waste generation is, the social and economic factors involved, challenges some assumptions.
Doesn't it? But maybe the most ambitious idea Gerardo shared was his zero waste challenge.
Yeah. What's that?
He actually proposed to the municipality of Garcia. He said, look, let me manage all the waste from my specific neighborhood
All of it. Ow.
in a contained area, funded by the money the municipality saves by not having to collect it themselves. And any profits made from recycling or composting or whatever, reinvested back into the local community.
Wow, that's bold.
It's a direct challenge, right? He named the current mayor, Manuel Guerra Cavazos. It's basically saying, let us try a different model.
That kind of community-led project, it could be a really powerful model if they can make it work logistically and legally.
For sure. It was also probably mean changes to the informal system, like the tips people give waste collectors in that area. That would likely end.
Yeah. Ripple effects.
But ultimately, Gerardo sees e-waste recycling as a genuine business opportunity for people with the right know-how. He even mentions specialists working on zero-emission incinerators for organic waste.
So environmental responsibility and making a living can go together.
Exactly. It suggests that innovation, entrepreneurial thinking, they could be really powerful tools in tackling the e-waste problem if we approach it right.
It reinforces that idea, yeah. Business solutions for environmental problems.
So, wrapping things up, it's pretty clear, isn't it? Electronic waste is a huge challenge, but hidden inside that challenge,
Pues, mis estimados amigos, es muy importante que reciclemos responsablemente. My dear friends, please recycle responsible. E-waste is a problem that we together can solve. Thank you for viewing this video.